Cool graphic.
Let's welcome the party leaders. Justin Trudeau for the Liberal Party. Erin O'Toole for the Conservative
Bro, this guy
Party.
just looks like he wants a Happy Meal.
François Blanchet of the Bloc Québécois.
A pleasure.
Jagmeet Singh of
Wait,
the NDP.
do you think he matched his turban to like the color of his party on purpose?
Annemie Paul for the Greens. Welcome, leaders. And you leaders, you've agreed to tonight's rules and format. So, before we begin, please.
Why does she sound like she's
answer the
fucking talking
questions
to like a
you're
grade
asked.
4 class?
Do not interrupt each other. I don't want to cut you off, but I will if I have to, okay? All right, let's get started. Mr. Blanchet, to you. You deny that Quebec has problems with racism, yet you defend legislation such as Bills 96 and 21, which marginalize religious minorities, Anglophones, and allophones. Quebec is recognized as a distinct society, but for those outside the province, please help them understand why your party also supports these discriminatory laws.
The question seems to imply the answer you want.
Oh, I hate French people so much, man. The way this guy just answered the question is so cringe.
So again, why the discriminatory laws and your support for it, sir?
You may repeat as many times as you want that those are discriminatory laws. We are saying that those are legitimate laws that
Dude,
apply
I
on Quebec
fucking hate
territory,
French
and there
people so
seems to be
much.
people around here who will share this point of view, which is a gain by itself for Quebec.
Ms.
But this
Paul,
is
what's
not
your
an
response
issue
to that?
with easy answers. You have to fall back on process.
Yo,
I
the
have
look he
said
just
before,
gave.
and I'll say again tonight, that I do not believe.
Hold on, rewind it, bro. Look at
Ms. Paul,
This is
what's
not
your
an
response
issue
to that?
with easy answers.
I have
You
said-
have to fall back on process.
I have said before, and I'll say again tonight, that I do not believe that Mr. Trudeau is a real
Oh,
feminist.
he looks so sad by that too.
Trudeau is a real feminist. A feminist doesn't continue to push strong women out of his party when they are just seeking.
Leadership is not only saying the words, it's proposing solutions, admitting a problem, which they're not doing.
Bro, I love this guy. He just came here to talk shit.
Canada should never leave behind people that are at risk because they helped us. When Afghanistan was falling, there were 1,200 Canadians and hundreds more translators and others waiting for help from Canada. What did Mr. Trudeau do? You called an election, sir.
Oh!
Your own political interests ahead of the well-being of thousands of people. Leadership is about putting others first, not yourself.
Yep.
Mr. Trudeau, you should not have called this election. You should have gotten the job done in Afghanistan.
Mr. O'Toole, as of
Hold
the beginning...
on, this is not open debate, leaders. This is
Bro, bro, who told this chick that she could talk to our prime minister like this? That's fucked up, bro.
We have not stood up for human rights. Sir, you did not show up for a vote declaring a genocide towards the Uyghur people. You didn't show up.
Ooh,
Canada is the country
interesting.
that was leading the fight against apartheid. We created the UN Human Rights Code. We should be leaders for our values,
Yep.
sir. And you've let the Michaels down, and we have to get serious with China. Started as Prime Minister saying you admired China.
If I could,
Oh shit! Exposed.
Admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say we need to go green as fast as we need to start investing in solar.
I appreciate, thank you very much, the opportunity. I want to also we're talking about leadership and accountability. And in this pandemic, one of the moments I think of leadership that has been a failure is the fact that when we talk about leadership, it means finding solutions. And in our long-term care homes here
What
in
the
Canada,
fuck is this guy
we saw
talking
the
about, bro? We're
worst
talking about
conditions
China.
Mr.
for
Singh,
profit.
we're
Hello?
going to have
That was-
time to chat with Mr. Blanchet. Did you want to get in on
Throwing
this?
tomatoes might not be the solution, but I would submit humbly that doing nothing might not be the solution either. Mr. Trudeau's record on human rights is not perfect. We might name the two Michaels, we might name Uyghur in Xinjiang, we might name Taiwan, Hong Kong, we might name Catalonia and Mr. Puigdemont, we might name the worst of all,
Mr. Blanchet.
Raif Badawi being still held in Saudi Arabia because Canada wants to sell weapons and military supply to Saudi Arabia.
Bro, this guy's just here to talk shit. Bro, I hated this guy at first, but I actually fucking love this guy.
Okay,
I will
gentlemen,
finish.
one at a
2
time.
seconds. The parliament voted unanimously to give citizenship to Raif Badawi. Nothing has been done afterward.
Afterward, the way the guy pointed and shit.
The problem with Mr. O'Toole and his principles is he says all the right-sounding things, and he's working on reassuring everyone that he's right there as a strong leader. But he can't convince his candidates to get vaccinated.
What?
And to invest in that future, we need to make choices. And right now,
So
we look at the
cringe.
choices Mr. Trudeau has made over the past 6 years. He has promised to end fossil fuel subsidies, but instead of ending them, he has increased them to $900 million per year. We can't afford another 4 years of
Thank
Mr.
you.
Trudeau's choices.
Thank you to be with us, sir. I hope you appreciate a little bit blunt answers. First, you cap.
Bro, I can't even lie. I thought when he said you cap, like, I thought he was calling him out for lying, bro. I listened to way too much Little Baby.
It is time for more debate. The draw has Mr. Trudeau and Mr. O'Toole facing off. Your topic is climate change.
Bro, that was the fakest smile.
We're also going to make major investments in electric vehicles, in the hydrogen economy, small modular reactors.
The reality that Mr. O'Toole has never understood is you can't have a strong economy unless you tackle climate change. And you ask about how we're going to convince the quarter of Canadians who still don't think climate change is real. Well, Mr. O'Toole can't even convince his party that climate change is real because they voted against that.
He doesn't have achievement.
Well,
he never meets his targets.
The
So we have a
target
plan
is in 2030,
that we will
so
meet
it's
the
actually
targets
quite difficult
and
to
get
meet
our
Bro,
targets.
these guys are
Not
children. They're
away,
both just talking
except for
over
the
each
fact that
other.
Right now, we are on track
Gentlemen,
to beating
we
that
have to
target.
wrap
Never
this
meet the
segment.
target, Mr.
10%
Trudeau.
over
All
that
right,
target.
we are moving
We
on.
track.
We are moving on, leaders. Next up,
Bro, am I the only one who, like, doesn't find it okay? that she's, like, talking down to them like they're first graders, dude? Like, this is not okay, bro. Like, bro, 500 years ago, this chick would be beheaded.
you begin, Mr. Singh. You may jump in one at a time, please.
Of course.
Of course, bro, that's fucking funny.
Of course.
Well, here's the thing. We just heard Mr. O'Toole and Mr. Trudeau argue about who's worse. And honestly, it's a tough question to answer.
Oh, shit.
As
Bars.
far as I understand it, it is not a national or even less a regional issue. It is a planetary issue. And it has to be tackled by everybody at once. But I would be glad to give some of my precious time to Mr. O'Toole because a week ago, a little more than that, he said in French that he did not want anymore to have a pipeline to go through Quebec. That was quite a statement. He said that in French, no more pipeline through Quebec. I want to hear that in English tonight. Please,
This guy's just here to fight, bro. He's just angry.
Mr. Blanchet.
Madame.
Let's
did they
talk.
give you
You're
an F?
talking about the future. Let's talk about right now. You had 6 years,
Why did
and
you
you've got
get
the. Let me
an
finish.
F
Let me
on
finish.
climate?
Why does this guy
You've got
talk
the
like he's
worst
an
track
MC at an
record
open
in
mic?
all the G7 after
like a rap
6
battle.
years. How can
Mr.
people
Singh,
trust you?
Why
How
didn't
can people
you
have
put
confidence
Mr.
forward
Trudeau,
an
hold on.
ambitious
Someone that is
All right,
planned.
Mr. Singh,
He
Mr.
didn't
Trudeau,
answer.
then Ms.
Why
Paul,
did he
then
get
Mr.
an
Blanchet.
F
Mr.
on
Trudeau.
I don't
his
accept that, first of all. I don't
Time's
accept that at all. We've got
wasted.
a bullet.
Hold on,
Let's-
Ms. Paul.
let's-
Go ahead, Merrick. The leaders are listening.
Ani Bojo.
Ani
In
Bojo.
Ojibwe culture, trust and respect is key to any relationship.
Bro, you had one job. Come on, you
got
got
it,
it. You got it.
Keep
You
going.
keep
How can I
going.
trust and respect the federal government after 150 plus years of lies and abuse to my people? And as Prime Minister, what will you do to rebuild the trust between First Nations and the federal
Let's
government?
go. You did it.
How do you restore trust when you've got a prime minister that takes a knee one day and then takes Indigenous kids to court the next?
Oh, shit.
And I meant it when I said you can't
Bars,
take a knee
bro.
one day if you're going
Bars.
to take Indigenous kids to court the next. That's not leadership.
Mr. Singh,
That's
you
not going to
love
make things
that
better.
line about taking Indigenous
not a
kids to
line.
court. It's
What?
actually not true. We have
Trudeau,
committed to compensating
say that?
those
You can't
kids who
say
went through
that.
that.
Listen,
and what's
seriously, you
more
can't
than
say
that,
that.
this is important, Mr.
No, you
Singh.
can't say you're not
when
taking them
you
to court
talk
when you're
about-
taking them to court.
When you talk
There are
about
Yeah, you
kids
can't.
out there that are being
assess.
fought by you.
Is that real, by the way?
Leaders,
Someone
I would
look that up.
actually remind you the question
say
is
that.
about violence against Indigenous women and girls. Let me recenter you on that.
I appreciate it because he can't continue to say that. That's
Well,
the thing.
Mr. Blanchet, I'm going to start with you. You know, numerous government reports, including in Quebec, have sounded the alarm that systemic racism exists. From Joyce Echaquan dying as she's taunted by hospital staff, to policing, the justice system. What will you do as Black leader to address systemic racism in your own province in Quebec and also elsewhere in Canada? What are you going to do?
Absolutely
Where
open
do
to
we
the
go from
idea
here, then?
of discussing all of that on a quiet stage without this being aggressive.
Oh,
as this
no
debate.
shot he just said that. No shot. No way he just said that to get out of the question, bro. That's fucking cringe.
I actually had to pull my jaw up, which just dropped, when I heard what Mr. Blanchette said. I invited Mr. Blanchette to get educated about systemic discrimination. I extend that invitation again. I would be happy to educate him.
It's nice to want to educate
This
me.
is my time, sir.
It is.
So nice time to insult people.
That was not an insult. It was an invitation to educate yourself.
This is leader direct questions.
There
Melissa,
should
you're
be some
Mr.
decency in
Blanchet.
this debate.
Yeah.
Since I'm many minutes behind everybody else, there should be some
Mr.
decency.
Oh, this
you
guy's
had every
such a
opportunity to jump in
baby.
an open
Responsibility, not
debate.
mine, but
It's
something.
your
And I am
responsibility,
fulfilling my
it's not mine.
responsibility, sir. Melissa, we're going to keep moving on.
Is
You're
it my
next, but
turn?
It is your turn.
Thank you.
Bro. But it's literally like a kindergarten class. Holy shit.
You know, Canadians and Indigenous people
Yo, this
are
guy for
losing
sure is writing a
patience
death
with,
note right now.
the
This
lack
guy's
of
not.
results from all of this spending.
When we came into office, there were 105 long-term boil water advisories. We lifted 109 of them.
Wait. There were 105 of them. Okay. And you got rid of 109 of them?
My question is this: at my age, I never imagined that I would have to keep on working, but I have to afford to live where I do.
Bro, how funny would it be if like one of the leaders just didn't give a fuck, knew he was gonna lose, was just like, you should move then.
Where I do. So I'd like to know, when they become prime minister, what will they do to help us seniors survive?
We're going to get bills down for
Okay.
internet,
So,
for
like,
cellular
10 bucks a
phone.
month you
We're going to
save?
get
Got it,
grocery
got
bills
it.
down. That is our plan and
Okay.
our commitment.
Another
And in
50
December,
bucks,
we're going to give
50
you a
bucks,
break
okay.
with the GST holiday and help bricks and mortar stores in the process. Mr. Trudeau is borrowing every day 420.
So his plan is to lower internet and phone bills, which are like $100 a month, maybe get them down to $80, and people could afford to live again.
We're talking about people who are spending right now more than half their income on housing.
Bro, there's
That's
people
not
that only
affordable.
have to spend
People
half of
should
their
not
money
be
on
spending
housing.
so much on housing that
Bro,
they have
who are
no
these
money
rich
left
motherfuckers?
to pay for their groceries, to pay for their bills.
That's not a
and the sad reality is, since
I have to rethink my
2015
budget.
to now, the average cost of housing nationally has gone up to buy a home by $300,000.
Social housing might be a solution to another problem. People are paying, at least in Quebec, people are paying far too much for houses because the prices have increased tremendously.
The housing
Municipalities to create
crisis
1.4 million
has
homes.
gotten worse
Mr.
under you,
O'Toole's
Mr. Trudeau.
Let
plan
him
on
respond,
housing,
Mr. O'Toole.
Mr.
Mr.
O'Toole's-
Trudeau, let Mr. O'Toole
Sorry, let me
respond.
just finish this.
The housing
Mr.
crisis-
O'Toole's plan on
Look
housing
how
is
sad he
half
got.
$1 billion.
This guy's so... there's no shot. These guys, one of these people is gonna lead this country, dude. No way.
And now we're going to move to open debate.
Here, I believe with Mr. Blanchette.
That's correct.
So, Mr. Blanchette, what is one policy change that you think would make the biggest difference to Canadians or Quebecers, in your case, in terms of their cost of living? The one change that you would like to see that would help them the most?
Cost of living, that's quite interesting because that's a worry that we have. We believe that the most important thing is changing the way we create wealth. We
Okay.
believe that transforming our own resources, natural resources, with our own clean energy in
Okay.
our regions of Quebec will create more wealth. There's one thing
Mr. Singh.
I want to add.
Interesting.
It's not exactly, I don't know if there's time eventually.
Not really, but
Yeah.
quickly,
Will
quickly.
I will take a few of those seconds.
Yes.
Will we have some seconds to speak about French-speaking
I
communities?
fucking hate
not
French
in this
people
section.
so
This is
much,
about
bro.
cost of
What
living,
the
sir.
And
fuck,
to you,
man?
Mr. Singh.
It's nowhere. That's my problem.
Okay, from Saskatchewan,
I want
Ethan
to speak
Herman
French.
is
So
standing
speak
by in
French. Who
Saskatoon.
cares?
He's an undecided voter, and he wants to hear from you about COVID recovery. Hey, Ethan, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, leaders. My question is this.
No way. Bro. Bro, based on his list, I did not expect him to sound like James Charles, bro. That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Coming out of this pandemic, how will you, if elected as Prime Minister, going to unify and drive Canada forward with respect to healthcare,
There's no way he came up
jobs
with
in
this
the
question.
economy, and ensuring a higher
Scripted.
quality of life is achievable for all
Scripted.
Canadians, regardless of race, color, creed, or sexual orientation?
Scripted.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. That is exactly
Bro,
why
this guy
I
keeps
launched
doing this with his
Canada's
hands. Like, is he
recovery
facing
plan on
east
the
or
first
something? I don't
day
get
of
it.
The campaign. We're going to create 1 million jobs in 1 year. We're
Uh-huh.
going to clean up the accountability mess in Ottawa. We're going to have national leadership on mental health. We're going to be more ready for a pandemic, and we're going to get our finances under control. I want to get people working. I want to give families a break.
Ethan, I think the folks on this stage missed the very first part of your question, which is, once we get out of this pandemic, and yes, we have plans for being even more ambitious on climate change and making sure people get good jobs, but we have to get out of this pandemic first.
Bro,
and
it's
that's why
over.
the unequivocal leadership that we've shown as a government on
shit.
making sure that everyone gets vaccinated.
No one
I think
cares.
Mr. Trudeau forgot the second part of your question,
Whew,
which is
bars.
about healthcare. Let's be efficient. Healthcare is a jurisdiction of the provinces and Quebec. Those are the territories, the jurisdictions who should have the resources to do their job.
But I have to touch on what Mr. Trudeau said about the recovery. We have to get through the pandemic first.
He did say
Why
that?
did you not have that approach to the election, Mr. Trudeau?
Oh,
Mr. Singh, I'll start with you, sir.
true, eh?
Your pandemic
True.
recovery plan is uncosted. You have no plan to balance the books, but you promised to pay for your expensive promises, new programs like universal dental care with taxing the super rich and taxing corporations.
We would tax the billionaires. We would make sure companies like Amazon start paying their fair share so we can invest in those new jobs, so we can invest in people.
Premier Legault of Quebec today said, no one is to be entirely trusted in this group of people. Some
But
are
this guy's
worse
here to
than
talk
others.
shit.
I think
Watch,
they
watch.
recognize themselves. But even those who are a little bit less terrible need a watchdog because they're not entitled to a majority government. So, if Quebecers want, I will lead the watchdogs.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, this guy really doesn't like the fucking Canadians, bro. Like, does he forget that Quebec is a province in Canada?
The pandemic recovery is about the future path of Canada. And all of the leaders here tonight have made promises that require historic levels of spending. But as you all know, politics is about hard choices. With some Canadians still in real need of support and other industries experiencing real labor shortages, what specific programs will stay and what will go in the next year, and who will pay for all of this? Mr. O'Toole.
That's a great question, Evan, because we didn't see the government adapt to the changing crisis. What we supported, and we all worked together, the wage subsidy, the CERB, needed to be adapted as there were labor shortages in Quebec.
No,
as
no,
we
no.
can't find
Hey,
enough people for
hey,
restaurants
hey,
and service industry.
Hey, calm down, calm down.
That's what our plan.
Still
Canada's
very hard
Recovery
to find
Plan
a
does.
job.
We get those
Calm
service,
down, calm
tourism,
down.
restaurants
Let's not
back
get
on their
fucking
feet,
crazy here.
get people working, and with keeping cases low, we can then wind down the other programs because we need to focus on
pump
work.
it,
We
pump
have a
it.
job boost that will actually incentivize the
Keep
hiring
CERB
of people
coming.
to
Let
Calm
Mr.
down,
Singh
calm
in,
down.
for 10 months or more.
Mr. O'Toole, let Mr. Singh in.
Mr. O'Toole and Mr. Trudeau are jumping over each other about who was going to cut help to people first.
Did any of you three guys refund the wage subsidy that you received?
We
Up
stopped
to
it
about
now.
$3 million. That would be something, at least for the principal. After that,
can support
there's an
workers.
important issue, labor shortage. They are promising jobs. They should be promising workers.
Yes.
We need people to work. And that raises the
no,
question
no.
of
Hey,
productivity.
hey,
This is the
hey.
most important
Pandemic.
issue. And some programs
Keep
should
unemployment.
be turned toward
Stop
that
it.
issue.
You have seen tonight the extreme differences between the
I hate this
perspectives
fucking
of
guy.
these parties.
I actually don't
we
like him.
need Canadians to make the right choice.
Leaders,
so we
that
can
is
move
it.
I
forward.
mean, I don't like any of them, but
We're
like,
out of
bro,
time. Evan,
this
thank
guy
you.
talks like he's a
Leaders,
fucking
thank
doing
you for your
spectacle or something.
participation tonight. That's it for the English language leaders debate.
Yep.
Voting day is September 20th. Get your ballots. Make sure you're registered. On behalf of the Leaders Debate Consortium, I want to thank the crew, the producers, everyone who made this happen. I'm Shutcha
We're
Pearl.
fucked.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.